Tropical cyclone has formed off the North Australian coast and is expected to intensify over the weekend. Sky News Northern Australia correspondent Matt Cunningham has the details.
Darwin is already in the midst of a major clean-up operation in the wake of Tropical Cyclone Marcus, but now another tropical cyclone has formed off the northern Australian coast. Tropical Cyclone Nora formed about 250 kilometres north of the Gulf Peninsula. It's tracking in a southeasterly direction and could form into a Category 3 cyclone by Saturday. Modelling suggests it could hit the coast anywhere between Weipa in far north Queensland and the Northern Territory border, bringing destructive winds and heavy rain. Now, much of North Queensland is already flooded after they had some severe wet weather over the past 2 to 3 weeks. Meanwhile, here in Darwin, this clean-up operation is expected to take several months, and the damages bill is expected to run into the tens of millions of dollars. Matt Cunningham, Sky News.
To the top stories, Tropical Cyclone Nora is expected to reach Category 4 strength today, bringing hurricane-force winds and heavy rain to Queensland's far north. The system brought severe winds to northern Arnhem Land yesterday and is set to intensify as it moves across the Gulf of Carpentaria. A warning has been issued for hurricane-force winds in the southeast and northeast Gulf, with communities between Gilbert River to Thursday Island also urged to brace for gale-force winds.
Of Carpentaria, and that will continue to intensify as it moves towards the southeast. So we will see it reach severe Category 4 today. So we do a number of warnings out. So for residents of the northeastern top end, the good news is that the warning has actually been cancelled, and for residents of Nhulunbuy, the threat has eased. At the moment, the concern is for parts of the peninsular Gulf Coast, with a cyclone warning from Thursday Island right down to Karamba, and we will see the winds start to pick up through there today. Yes, so specifically, what should those residents there be expecting in terms of conditions? Yeah, so the real threat will be for cyclonic and hurricane-force winds. So for those warning areas today, they will see wind gales 120 to up to 160 kilometres an hour develop through today. And if Nora does reach Category 4, we will see destructive wind gusts of up to 270 kilometres an hour, particularly for residents in between Weipa down to Kohinyama for today. What about the other systems, Tropical Cyclone Marcus and 2 tropical lows to the northeast? There's certainly a lot going on. Yeah, so Tropical Cyclone Marcus is still severe Category 3, sitting quite offshore the WA coast, so no real threat to the mainland at this stage. Could see some big swell being generated for the Geraldton and the Gascoyne coast as well, but we will see Marcus continue to weaken today as it moves south. So we expect it to weaken to below Category 1 strength, probably tonight or tomorrow, and it will cross the southwest WA coast early next week, but no significant effects for WA, just might see some rain and some showers for Perth as well. As you mentioned, there are some other tropical systems in the tropics as well. So Tropical Cyclone Iris was named this morning by the Fiji Met Service, currently Category 1 system, lying in between Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands. So Fiji is looking after that at the moment, but there is a small chance that it could enter Australia's waters over the coming days, but certainly monitoring that very, very closely at this stage, and could impact New Caledonia early next week. There is another tropical low in the Indian Ocean further out west than Marcus. That at this stage doesn't have any advice for it, but forecasters here at the Bureau are monitoring that very closely. But yeah, very busy time for us here.
So Cyclone Nora has passed by the northeast inland town of Nhulunbuy on Friday afternoon, yesterday afternoon, but the region has escaped relatively unscathed.
Christy O'Brien reports from Nhulunbuy on the Gulf Peninsula in the Northern Territory.
Overnight, those rains really did pick up, probably some of the strongest we'd seen throughout the period that we've been here, and that's because the system did track slightly closer. It was about 20 kilometres closer than it had been throughout the day. But really, residents will start to, return their life. People who were evacuated from the homelands will start to return back to their communities. And I suppose, whilst there will be an element of caution, because the system is, of course, still sitting nearby, off the coast, and there is a capacity for these systems to sometimes turn at the last minute or change direction, and that really can, be very catch people off guard. So until it's really dead in the water and finally gone, I imagine residents will still have a degree of caution, but officially the warning has been cancelled for here in Nhulunbuy and for the East Arnhem region in the Northern Territory.
So it looks like at this stage the Territory might have escaped the worst of it. Is that a surprise? What were residents expecting?
Yeah, it certainly does look as though they've escaped the worst of it. As I say, residents here know that living in this part of the world does come with the very likelihood that there will be a cyclone. You know, in 2015, Cyclone Nathan came through. It was a Category 2 system. It had a direct hit here on Nhulunbuy. There's been various cyclones throughout the years because it is in a track of water that is quite volatile and does have very warm waters, which are perfect conditions, of course, to create a cyclone. So I suppose residents were certainly very cautious yesterday. I mean, they weren't panicking by any stretch of the imagination, but all of the proper preparations were in place. The shelters were ready. There were aircraft on standby in Darwin. All of the construction sites were locked down. All of those very important things. So I guess in comparison to Darwin, where we were last week, you know, there was a far greater degree of complacency amongst residents there and amongst myself, indeed, compared to out here where they certainly do seem to take these warnings a little bit more seriously. But as we've heard throughout the morning, it's now Queensland that really looks to bear the brunt of this cyclone. There's a watch in place from the Northern Territory border through to Queensland, and it is intensifying very rapidly, this system. It looks like it will reach a Category 4 system late this afternoon, and it could make landfall overnight or early tomorrow morning. That's going to be a very destructive system. They're talking about wind gusts up to 270 kilometres an hour. Of course, the heavy rainfalls as well, which may lead to localised flooding. So the communities, Karumba, Weipa, all of that peninsula really have to be on standby at the moment and should be making their preparations, tying down boats, preparing for where they will go to shelter during this emergency. So all of those things that will be required, and it looks like this system will pack a fair punch. So I certainly over that way, I'm sure they're getting very concerned now as this system really does start to heat up.
Christy O'Brien reporting. Well, it's been another very wet night on the New South Wales mid-north coast, but floodwaters across the region are expected to start receding today.
Some of the upper part of the Hastings catchment received more than 400 millimetres of rain in the last 48 hours. Reporter Emma Suisian reports from Wauchope.
Fortunately, things are looking a bit better today, much brighter. We certainly did receive a drenching here overnight, around 100 millimetres of rain around Port Macquarie and Wauchope. Some places in the upper catchment west of here have had over 400 millimetres of rain over the past 48 hours. But today, the sun has come out in the last little while. River levels are starting to recede, and for most of the rivers that are affected across the mid-north coast, they're now on their final flood warnings.
So you say that river levels are starting to recede. Does that mean floodwaters have peaked now?
Floodwaters have peaked. To be honest, where I'm standing right now, I would have been underwater at this time yesterday. It's been an incredible change in a short space of time here. A lot of locals are coming down to have a look. And yeah, the picnic tables, the children's park here were all completely submerged yesterday. And today we've come and had a look. There still is some areas underwater, but a lot of it is drained, and we're just now seeing picnic tables with some debris and grass and weed over them, but otherwise clear. So it really has dropped off quite fast here in Wauchope and in other areas. Obviously some low-lying areas still underwater, some roads still closed, but certainly improving.
So a bit of relief for residents there. What have they been saying to you?